Powered by Riverside.
Hey, welcome to BJB Today. I'm Tim Kruger. Happy Tuesday to everybody as we grind along. January 20th already. Am I the only person that thinks this month has flown by? I mean, we're almost into February already. Incredible. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like button. Share this with all the Jays fans that you know so we can keep growing this community. We really appreciate everybody's support and your support of this show. Today, we're going to just take a look at the stats of the men's basketball team and then also going to do a grade of each Big East team at this point, like a grade, like combining everything, like preseason, what we thought they might be, to their difficulties, to where they are today, to if they're rising, falling, so forth. So it'll be kind of an all-encompassing grade. First of all, we want to talk about that wax and draft event over at Infusion Brewing Company. Make sure you check that out. It's Sunday, coming up this Sunday, January 25th from 11 to 4 at Infusion Brewing at 6271 South 118th Street. It's if you're headed on the interstate west to Omaha or to Lincoln. Oak Hills Golf Course is to your right. It's over on the left. So just Google it. It's over there. It's a great location. Great time. And this will be an awesome time. They got over 40 vendors there. You can buy, sell, trade cards, and check out, maybe buy some new things. Check out what you have to see offer, all those types of things. And so check it out. That's Infusion Brewing. It's free. It's free to the public. For purchase, there's beer, some of their fabulous beer, pizza, and more. So check it out. That's infusionbrewing.com. The women. So the women play Xavier tonight. The men take them on tomorrow night. And again, we talked about that yesterday. Kind of a real weird situation that this has happened several times this year. Hope you're all enjoying your coffee, by the way. All right, so let's get into the stats. I'm gonna just kind of go through this because I think some of these are very, 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 very interesting. No shocker that the minutes played is Josh Dix. Okay. Probably no shocker. Second place is Jason Green, about 150 minutes behind him, 115 minutes behind him. Then third, I would like to see if people would guess this, but maybe it's more apparent than anything, but Nick Graves is third. And then you have a clump of guys that played pretty much the same this season. Isaac Trout, Blake Harper, and Austin Swartz. So they've all kind of got to that figure in different ways. But that's how that kind of breaks down. Field goal percentage. So just regular, field goal percentage, overall field goal percentage. Of the guys who have played a lot, so I'm not going to include Freeman because he hasn't played. He hasn't even hit half the games. Started half the games. I'm sorry. That's what I'm looking for here. But, he hasn't, he's only played, Freeman's played 238 minutes. So we'll kind of do the cutoff. You got to play at least 250, and that'll include 6 guys. No, we'll do 240. That'll include Fedor and Ty Davis. Okay, because that's fair. Because Ty starts and Fedor plays a big role. So we'll go to 240. All right, on field goal percentage. I don't think there's like huge surprise here. Jason Green has it, obviously, because he's shooting from, inside all the time. 59%. The second place guy is Blake Harper. And again, he makes a lot of his hay down low, so that's true. But, I guess that's realistic when you just think of it in your mind. Third place close behind is Austin Schwartz, shooting 45%, and that's pretty impressive considering, the amount of threes he puts up. Fifth place is Josh Dix. Not surprised there. Inside-outside game. And in fifth place of those players would be... This is a tough one. Nick Graves, 39.6. 3-point shooting. We talked about this the other day. Blake Harper shooting over, the only player shooting over 40%. The only player that's played this many minutes. Hudson Greer. If you looked at Hudson Greer, didn't look at the minutes played, did pretty impressive stat line. He's shooting 53% from the field, 46% from three. And one may say, why doesn't he get more playing time? I don't know. So Harper, number one. Number two on the list is Schwartz at 38.9, so almost 39%. Number three is Jason Green from three. He's shooting 36.7%. Number four, Josh Dix. No, I'm sorry. Number four would be Isaac Trout, 35.6. Isaac's, if you tossed out that 0 for 9, Isaac would be about where you imagine him in your head, He had that bad road trip. And then in fifth place is Josh Dix at 34.6. Josh has struggled, I think, he was shooting some real deep threes, and his shot was a little bit flatter from that angle. I think he's kind of adjusted that a little bit. He hasn't shot as many of those either, but he's doing so much for us. I think he loses his legs sometimes in games. He's doing so much. He's playing the most minutes by far. He's playing such tremendous defense. It's crazy. I wish we had defensive stats on here. Free throws, the team, we're shooting 76% for the line, which is pretty darn good. And that's just, tremendously impressive. We've got all kinds of players. You go back to Ty Davis is shooting almost 88% from the free throw line. He doesn't get fouled much, but he's a valuable guy maybe to have out there at the end of the game. Josh Dix, 86.5. Blake Harper is at 81%. Isaac Trout, when you talk to coaches, they say Trout's the best free thrower. He's shooting 83%. So we've got a lot of guys over 80%. Rebounding. Well, it's not going to be a big shock that Jason Green's leading in rebounding. 5.2 rebounds a game. Second, we've got a couple guys that are tied. Owen Freeman is in there. And then Blake Harper. Now, that surprised me a little bit. When I just think, I would have thought one of our guards would have come, because Dix is at 3.8. And, people talk about the rebounding and so on and so forth. And, then once in a while, people will bring up, now it's been a while, I'll bring up, hey, another reason our rebounding is struggling a little bit is, we were expecting to have Jackson McAndrew, and some people say, oh, I don't really know. Jackson, in the short time he played, was averaging 4.5 rebounds a game. So there you go. You're taking 4 to 5 rebounds a game out of the game when we don't have him. We're not making excuses. Everybody has injuries, but it's just a big part back to our post-game discussion, our post-game show discussion after the Providence game, and I'll put that link in there because a lot of people or do a separate link today on Twitter because a lot of people haven't seen that. So I'll post a link to it so you can take a listen. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great back and forth from fans and what ails the Jays. Okay. Rest of the rebounding, I think we got to get. I'm really surprised. Josh Dix is at 3.8. It just seems like he gets more rebounds to me than that. Assists. Nick Graves leads the team in assists with 65, and Josh Dix closely behind at 54. I was curious to see where Ty Davis sat. He's at 23. Blake Harper has 31. Austin Swartz has 27. That's probably a number you'd want to see Austin as he develops here. That's a number that's got to come up for him. Turnovers, Nick Graves leads the team in turnovers with 32. Ty Davis has 20 and less minutes played. Green has 26. Swartz 23. Harper has 20, which surprises me. I would think he'd have more. And Josh Dix, for being on the floor as much as he is, he only has 19 turnovers. That's and 54 assists. I mean, that's a 2.5 to 1 margin. Got nobody else with any significant numbers. So scoring average, Dix is at 12.4, Swartz 11.3, and then Green at 10.9, and then everybody else is under 10, led by Nick Graves at 9.5, Harper 9.4. This is kind of, though, I would say, what we kind of looked at the beginning of the year when we said we had all this depth. This is kind of like hitting this right on the number, right? With nobody, averaging 28 points a game. Everybody's, just barely over 10. And a lot of guys at 6, 7 on down the list. I mean, listen to this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 guys that are averaging 5 points a game or more. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but think about it. That's 50 points right there. So we have a lot of guys averaging a lot of points, getting into the scoring column night in, night out. We just got to take care of the small things, The rebounding has got to improve. I understand we're undersized, but we've got to do a better job rebounding. And the guards have to help out more with that. And everybody has to be aware of it. To me, in watching some of these games over the past few days, like some of the past games, I looked at the rebounding, just watching snippets here and there. We have had a lot of bad luck, like a lot of bad bounces where the ball just bounced out way out to the 3-point line or, just came off funny off the rim or just, different things. Some fouls not called, things like that. So I think our luck factor is probably not very good. And those things tend to even out. So we'll see. I liked the look. One thing I didn't really talk about, I liked the look of the zone the last game. It really threw Providence off. But we've got to figure out when we're in that zone how to get rebounds. Because if you notice, they got a lot of boards out of that situation. So there's kind of a rundown of the stats. Don't forget, tomorrow we'll have the preview with Mike Rashawn. Preview of Xavier, team that's a little bit on the rise of that lower tier right now. Them and DePaul are kind of rising to the top. Speaking of rising to the top, who's rising to the top in Omaha as far as a place to go have a glass of wine? That's Vino Moss. Vino Moss. 2 great locations, one in Legacy over there in the 168th and Center location, and then fabulous place, their original location at 144th and Maple, just south of 144th and south of Maple on 144th, right next to Blue Sushi there. Great location. They got fabulous wine from all over the world. Join their wine club. It's a tremendous deal. You get wines from all over the world each month. It seems like my wife will say, "Hey, run down to Vino Mas and get wine club," and I'll be like, "I was just there." No. It's been 3 weeks, and I'll go down there again and get the wine club. So, great place to sit down, have a glass of wine. Service is unreal. Their service is tremendous, and they've got great charcuterie boards. You can have small parties in there. So check everything they have out. That's vinomas.com. Okay. Now I want to talk about the Big East. Wow. Is Providence the most fickle team? I think they are. We'll start at the bottom and go all the way up. So we'll start with Marquette first, but Providence has got to be the most fickle team in this league. It's just crazy how poor their defense is and how many points they give up and how many times they've got in these crazy overtime games. My goodness. So let's start with Marquette. We knew Marquette was going to be down this year. I think most people still thought they'd be in the middle of the pack. So I think where they sit now is a little bit surprising to everyone. Um, you know, again, the whole thing about the transfers is just, mind-boggling, frankly. But they now moved out of last place. I don't know if you saw the game last night, but Marquette won in overtime. A guy got fouled on a 3. I mean, this is kind of stuff that's happening to Providence. The game was at Marquette. A guy fouled with like 2 seconds left. He made all 3 free throws, sent it to overtime, and Marquette won by 1 point, 105-104. So they're out of last now, but I'm still going to give them a D because I don't know that when they go, I don't think they're going to, it's going to be tough for them to win a road game. Let's just put it that way. I'm looking up and down where they're going to go. Actually, so they've surpassed Georgetown, who's actually 1-6. It's kind of an anomaly because Georgetown's played 7 games, Marquette's played 9 games, so they've got kind of 2 games in hand here. But Georgetown's 1-6. I would grade Marquette a C-. I would give Georgetown a D because I think they've got better talent than what they're showing on the floor. They have had some injuries. I get that. But I'd give them a D because they should not be in last place. I'm sorry, with the talent they have. So we'll go Georgetown a D, Marquette a C-. Providence, they're just so hard to figure out. I think some of it's coaching. I think Kim English ranks in the bottom third of the league in coaching prowess. Yeah. They have played some teams really taking UConn to overtime. That's 3 overtime. That's 3 overtime games they've had. That's 3 times in those overtime games somebody scored over 100 points in conference. I'm going to give them a C only because I didn't have them ranked very high going into the season. So Butler's 2-5, currently sits in 8th place. So they're halfway up the totem pole of the bottom tier. They're 11-7. I'm going to give them like a B- simply because I think I like their roster. They had kind of a tough schedule to start out with. I mean, they're going to play some more of the easier teams here coming down the stretch. They're 2-5. I'm going to give them a B-. Yeah, I think because I didn't know how good they would be, and I think they're better than what they are. But then again, they've lost some like crazy games lately, which inexplicable. They've got a huge game tonight. Okay, you talk about that lower tier, and they're in the middle of that lower tier. They've got a huge game tonight, taking on DePaul, who's right above them at 3-4. So this could be kind of a swing game for these two teams. DePaul, I'm going to give a B plus to. I really should give them an A, but I'm going to give them a B plus because it's tough to live up to expectations, and people wondered if DePaul was going to climb out of that the bottom of the bottom, and they have. And again, I think we mentioned this the other day, their schedule, they're done with UConn. They've played St. John's already, so they haven't played Creighton at all. So they've got a chance to really make some hay here. And this is going to be an interesting game tonight to Paul Butler. Really interesting game, intriguing game. I'm so impressed with the way DePaul has played. And I think they've got a real chance to actually challenge the top 5. I mean, you think that's crazy? And they're one game out right now. And like I said, they've got a little easier path than a lot of these other teams. Update on the Chris Holtman credit card. He went into a bar after their win because they won 3 home games in a row, which they haven't done probably since the Ray Meyer era. And just bought everybody drinks and stuff. And he said his wife was out of town and she hasn't seen the receipt yet. So he has it laying on the kitchen table, like saying, okay, honey, here it is. I just got to tell you about this. Apparently it was pretty high. It was a great story, though. DePaul, so DePaul B plus, they're tied with Xavier, who is at 3-4. Now, I proclaimed a while back that Xavier is the worst team in the league. I still think talent-wise they're not great. I'm still not ready to say they're not one of the worst teams in the league. I still think Marquette is. I think Marquette's taken them over, and maybe Providence too. Just the fact that Providence loses games in such bizarre fashions. But I think they're in the bottom 3, and maybe call them bottom 4 with Georgetown, because if Georgetown doesn't start turning this around, although they played 2 great games in a row and lost both of them, nail biters, both of them. So, I'm going to give Xavier C plus right now. I had them one of the worst teams in the league going in. They're not, so that gives them, but they're still not good. And that's why I'm curious to see. We saw them way back when, they really struggled early. They lost in their home court to Santa Clara, I think by 21 points. Santa Clara is a decent team, but man. So I'm going to give them a C plus. Seton Hall is now in 5th place at 4-3. And they're staring a trip to St. John's tonight. So they could be 500 in the league. They were picked by most people to be at or near the bottom. I certainly did. So you have to hand it to them that they're way up from where a lot of people thought they would be. On the other hand, the hype for them has been nonstop. They've been ranked for quite a while. They're 14-4 overall, but you really start digging in their resume. It's not like they've beaten Murdered Row. I mean, they were getting a lot of love for beating North Carolina State, who is, on the very, very tip of the bubble, in or definitely out of the field in most people's brackets right now. And the other thing was they lost a nail biter kind of in controversial fashion to USC, and everybody's like, wow, look at this. Wow, USC is sliding big time too. They've somehow, some way, that won that Creighton game, probably a game they shouldn't have won. They could be sitting at 3-4 right now, staring at 3-5. So I'm gonna give them a B just because they're way above where they are, but they're sliding toward a B minus and into a C, because I think they're going to come a little bit back down to earth. Defensive team, and I think coaches around the league too. I haven't, Coach McDermott kind of alluded to in the post-game press conference with Seton Hall. He goes, well, when they get desperate, then they can just go for it. And a lot of times the refs won't call anything. And, that happened to us. That happened in a couple other games I saw too. So he tried to make a comeback against Butler. They did the same thing. And Thad was all over the ref. So I think, the narrative's going to be, hey, they foul a lot. Let's start calling, let's stop let them be over aggressive and let's call what a foul. If that happens, then they're going to be in trouble because they're offensively challenged. And I see them sliding. I see DePaul overtaking them. And I could even on the outside see Butler overtaking them eventually. So I'm going to go B-. I'm changing my mind here. I'm going B-. Creighton, 5-3. Projected to be finished third in the conference. A lot has happened with the Jays. I mean, injuries. Jackson McAndrew out of the line. I mean, Jackson McAndrew, I think so far has probably been worth, Seton Hall game we'd have won. Providence game we probably would have won with his rebounding. I think we'd have won that one. In his overall experience and play. So I mean, he's probably been worth a couple of games here. That would put us at 7-1. Be right at the top of the league. So that ends, I think we're forgetting that when you put a team together, we're saying, wow, how could Mac put this roster together and so on and so forth. You got to remember Jackson was a big piece of that. So at any rate, so you got to take that a little bit into consideration, but then again, other teams have injuries too. I know most people, Jays fans, would grade them like C probably right now. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be at a B- because they have put together a win streak. They have shown their ability to bounce back. And I think tomorrow night's game is just, you can't beat a team by 40 and they're going to remember that. So I get there's a psychological advantage for Xavier, but you can't let a team come into your home court and win after you beat them. Villanova, I'm grading very good. I'm giving them an A-. They're 14-4 overall. They're solidly in the field. They're running 5, 6, 7, or 6, 7, 8 range in most seeds. They're 5-2 in the league. Didn't have a great performance the other day, but they're a nice team. I think Willard's done a good job there so far, and they're right. I'm gonna give them an A- for being, I think right now, clearly the third best team in the league. St. John's 6-1. They seem to be hitting their stride right now. Now let's watch this game tonight against Seton Hall because this could be a rock fight. Two teams a little bit offensively challenged, although St. John's is starting to get it going on the offense end. I'm going to give them an A- because they did show signs of weakness a few times. But lately, man, they've looked like the St. John's we thought they were going to be, and they look like the St. John's that can certainly challenge UConn. UConn, I mean, they're 8-0. There's not much you can say about that. They're winning, but they're really playing with fire, man. They've had a couple of overtime games, or one overtime game, one 2-point game to teams in the lower tier. Yeah, road games. I get that. But are they getting to a point where, their players sometimes maybe don't listen because they just think they're better than they're going out and winning when they're not particularly playing well? So I'm just going to give them, I mean, they were the overwhelming favorite to win the league. They're winning the league, so you can't dock them for that. I'm just going to give them an A- just because of these close calls. Not that, hey, they still won, but there is something to be said for when you've watched them versus when I watched them in the non-conference, when I watched them lately, you're like, okay, there's possible, I thought they were just going to run it and go 20-0, but there's some possibility of them losing some games here, especially when they get into the St. John's. I mean, we'll see how they come when they come here. I mean, it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere a week from Saturday, but we'll see how that goes. Well, there's our grades. Big slate, by the way, of games. Tonight we've got Seton Hall at St. John's, DePaul at Butler. I don't know if I've talked a lot about this, but I just really hate that we're on True TV, FS1, and Peacock because now they can just slam games in the same time slot, and you don't get a chance to watch the games. And I'm a little bit, I don't like that. I liked it the old day when we had doubleheaders in FS1 and we could, we might have a game on CBS, Sportsnet, once in a while FS2, and go and just, you were able to see more games in my mind. But there seemed to be slamming a lot of them. And there was a big complaint by the coaches that these late starts, especially anybody on the East Coast that was playing at, 7:45 Central Time, let's say 8:45 Eastern. They didn't like that. So they've kind of gone away from that. They listen to the East Coast coaches. But at any rate, Seton Hall St. John's at 6, DePaul Butler at 6:30. And then tomorrow, we've got 2 games. Again, exactly same time. I mean, can you not separate them a little bit? I mean, it's on Peacock, for crying out loud. You can put a game on there anytime. So Georgetown at Villanova. I mean, that's an interesting game because Georgetown's played much better the last 2 games. And they're going into Villanova, who just suffered a loss. That could be one. I could see an upset there. And then obviously Xavier Creighton. And then we don't see anything until Friday, where Marquette and Butler play. And then a huge slate of games Saturday. Seton Hall's with Creighton being off this weekend. So we got Villanova at UConn. Woof, there's a big one. Georgetown at Providence. That's a big one at the bottom. St. John's at Xavier. The Patinos match up against each other, so that's going to get a lot of love. And then Seton Hall at DePaul. I'm telling you, DePaul's winning that game. Telling you. So then we're off for a while till the Tuesday games the following week. All right. We're going to give a shout out to RTI Threads, rtithreads.com. They have fabulous apparel, quarter zips, hoodies, T-shirts, hats, tons of logo Creighton merchandise too. Check them all out. It's RTI Threads. The exclusive apparel provider of Blue Jay Banner. They've got us some great stuff. We've got some great T-shirts we're going to be giving away at different events. So check them out. If you see me at Let It Fly tomorrow night for the post game, come up and say, hey, I'd love a T-shirt. It will set you up, man, for great listeners. So if you see me tomorrow night at Let It Fly, just check in with me. We'll bring some of the T-shirts along. We've got another batch coming too, so we'll be able to spread them out some more. They're really sharp-looking tees. Our Blue Jay Banner logo on gray. It looks great. And we're going to look into that. Again, I'll post a separate tweet today about the post game. I've said this statement for years, and I guess some people just never ever heard it. But every time somebody proves me like AJ did with the facts on the transfers from Marquette, that they don't have any, proves it with facts. I've always said this. I never let facts get in the way of my arguments. And so they're like, well, there's a T-shirt right there. So we'll see what we can do about that. But RTI Threads is awesome. So go there. You can get jerseys for every player, men's or women's. So check it out. That's rtithreads.com. Tomorrow we have Mr. Mike Rochon and a preview of Xavier, because we haven't talked about Xavier since way back in December. So we'll check them out as well. All right. Thanks for listening. By the way, I'll also put the link in. My partner Dave over at Bracketville. For you people who love to know where everybody sits right now, and there's a lot of talk about Nebraska, obviously. So Dave and I did a podcast yesterday and did a composite bracket. We took our seedless and kind of went back and forth where we had differences and filled out a bracket. So we did the first 6 lines on the podcast. You can see that. I'll put a link out for that, and also you can go to bracketville.com and see the entire seed list if you want to take a look at it. So check it all out. Thanks. We'll see you guys tomorrow.